so next we're going to be doing these doors. So I bought some hinges that are full overlay, which means it'll cover up to the edges of the plywoods on the outside, but I want to have an 1/8 inch reveal all the way around. So how I'm going to figure that out is by measuring the inner diameters from wall to wall and from bottom to top, and then adding 1.25 inches, which will overlay either side by 5/8, which is 1/8 shy of 3/4 on either side, if that makes sense. So by doing that, I will have an 1/8 inch overlay all the way around. So I will be cutting 2 inches oversized, I think, with a circular saw, because it leaves jagged edges on my plywood, and I need these doors to be as clean as possible on the edges. Then I'm going to take it to my table saw and then rip it down that 2 inches so I can get a nice straight cut all the way around, so I don't have any tear out. That's the plan. Let's see if it'll work. So I also got my grain oriented in this direction, so my doors will be from top to bottom. The grain will run vertically. And there's the edge it leaves. Terrible for cabinet doors. So what I'm going to do is I think the track saw actually moved a little bit, so one side is shorter than the other side, so I'm going to have to cut the widths first and then cut them down the rest of the way. And using that table saw with a cross-cut blade, see how clean that is now? Now all my edges are very nice. And it's the exact width I need. And wouldn't you know it, it started to rain. So I had to put all my tools away. So I only got one door cut right now, but I brought it in just to test fit it. And it looks like I need to take it off another 1/8 of an inch. But what I'm going to do, I'm probably going to take it off 3/16 to have a little more room at the top. Just a little more wiggle room. And what I'm going to put in this door is this little black grate. It was white, I painted it black. And I'm just going to put this down here, because this is where all my electronics are. So I need to have some airflow in there, just so nothing gets too hot. All right, so I trimmed my panel down a little bit, and then on the back side, I went ahead and drilled my holes with this nice handy dandy Craig jig hinge driller. So all you got to do is on the back side line up the panel with those little stoppers, and then clamp this down on either side, and take your drill and drill out, and then take a 1/16 inch drill bit and drill out your screw placements. And that fits this style of hinge. See, it just recesses it that deep perfectly, and go ahead, and it lines up those little screw holes as well. So this thing's really handy for doing some hinges. And this thing is adjustable in 2 directions, so it pushes out the panels and then raises and lowers it. So you got fine-tuned adjustability with these, and I like these. And these are full overlay. So I went ahead and installed my panel with these hinges in the van, just to make sure it all fits before I sand it, before I put on my edge banding, and before I drill out my hole for my vent. And all that checked out. So now we're finishing it up. So cut out my hole. Now I'm going to go ahead and put on my edge banding, but I want to finish this edge off, so I'm just going to cut this piece of walnut, a little scrap that I had. I'm going to cut it right in half and then nail it to the inside of this just to clean it up. When you open that door, you're not going to see those edges of plywood. Well, my phone just overheated. Both times I tried to film me sanding it and then to film me putting the polyurethane on it. But I just did all that without filming. Well, that's what it looks like. Went ahead and put my little handle on there. And there it is, fully installed. Check it out. Nice, even reveal all the way around. Except that left side where that wall was tapered in a little bit. But I went ahead and put my little grate on there. Handles on there. And I put some magnets on the inside. Just one at the bottom and one at the top. And that's what the grate looks like from the inside. Nice little walnut edges so you don't see any plywood. And closes nice and is on there pretty secure. Of course, we'll have to test all this out once we put everything in, and then we'll take it for a little test ride just to make sure nothing shakes or rattles. All right, up next, this door. And what I'm going to do on this door, typically when you do a cabinet, you put the handles on the inside so you can open it up kind of like that. But because I have these water tanks, I want to be able to just pull them out and take them out the door and not worry about the door being on this side kind of holding me captive. So I'm going to have the handle on this side so the door opens up that way so I can have easy access to get my jugs out of the double doors. Little things like that you just got to think about before you do everything. But let's go ahead and make this door. And I used the same process cutting this door down. So it was a little too long because the edges were all jagged because I cut it on the circular saw first. So I took the measurement of how high I need the door to be, and I took off that much of a sliver on my table saw with a rip saw blade, or a crosscut blade. So that edge is nice and clean on the other side. The back side is a little tiny bit of tear out just because that was the back side of the table saw. But so I'm going to show you how to drill out these hinges. So it's a really straightforward process. I'm going to do it kind of in thirds. So I'm going to split maybe a little wider than thirds, but just because it's such a long panel door, I'm going to put my hinges, and I'm just eyeballing it. One about there and then one about there. Not too low and not too close together in the middle. So it's really, you just line it up on the edge, clamp it down, and then drill your holes. And then once the hole for the center hole is drilled, you undo that top piece and then drill your little holes, your 16th inch guide holes for the screws of the hinges. And that's it in real time. And before I do anything else to this door, edge banding or polyurethane, I'm going to put on the hinges and then put them in the van just to make sure the door fits. So I cut down this little spacer block just to easily mark a line to where the instructions indicated where the screw holes for the other side of the hinges need to go. So I'm just going to mark that line and then screw them in. And you also want to place a shim underneath the door to however high you want the door to be. Just easier so you don't have to hold it at the same time, holding the drill and screwing it in. You only got 2 hands. I don't know why my phone keeps shutting off as I'm filming it, so I'm not getting my full videos. But I just put the door on there and I fine-tuned it, adjusted it a little bit. And now we got nice even reveal at the top and the sides and the bottom. Even this side. Perfectly flush with that side. So, and there is a little bit more gap on this one just because I compensated for that edge banding. So let's go ahead and put that on there. And I don't want to mess with my fine adjustments, so I'm just going to take it off the door. Some of them actually have little clips that you can just unclip it and take them off, but this one doesn't have it. I got to actually unscrew it off the hinges. And now I got it all sanded. I got a different Craig jig that is designed to drill holes for cabinet handles. You just gotta put it to whatever width your handle is and then drill a 3/16 inch hole, perfectly spaced, perfectly flush, or a perfectly level plumb, whatever, with this straight line. And how I drill my handles is I just line this top edge up with the top handle, and that's a good enough spacing from the top to make it look right. I always like to brush with the grain, even though this is some self-leveling stuff. I always tend to just go with the grain. All right, guys, well, there it is. I think it turned out really good. Walk you through everything I did just as a little recap. So left door, left-hand swings, got some magnets, one at the top, one at the bottom, and a little vent for all of my electronics in there, so it can get some circulation. The right door is just one big walnut plywood slab, and this one has one stronger heavy-duty magnet at the top. I haven't finished the back side of this yet, but this is where all my plumbing is, housing my 2 jerry cans. Very nice having working water in here. And of course, I got my acacia butcher block countertop. Food prep area over here. Of course, my sink. And then I'm going to do a backsplash eventually. Well, that's it, guys. I appreciate you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.